Hello again, everyone. Continuing Carolina week, I'm going to look at the Charlotte Hornets of the NBA right now. Free agency is kind of in full swing, and they have made a few moves. So things could happen today that I'm not going to get to mention because I'm filming this now, and it's about 10 a.m. back home, 10:11. So they could make some moves, but I think the Charlotte Hornets are kind of in a tough position as a free agent market. A lot of big names, top free agents like LaMarcus Aldridge. Just to use a guy as an example. They either want to go to teams that they see going in the right direction. So if they're a struggling team like the Lakers or something, they got a good head coach and they're heading in a good direction. I think the bubble teams like the Charlotte Hornets kind of thing that just missed the playoffs last year, they don't really have those other pieces that make it an intriguing place to go. In my opinion. And also, top free agents are going to want to go to teams like the Spurs or something as well, where they could potentially win a title sooner rather than later as well. And I think that's what makes it tough for Charlotte to be a market for a top free agent. I think they're a good market for like middle tier free agents. Like if they wanted to grab Lou Williams, who was the sixth man this past year with the Raptors, I think he'd be a solid guard, kind of a pickup for them. Not a top free agent, but a solid guy to bring onto the team kind of thing. I think that's kind of where their efforts for trying to sign a free agent would go, is kind of in that market, that level of a talent. They're not going to go out and find LaMarcus Aldridge and convince him to come to Charlotte. I just don't think that can happen with this team. But I do think they are a solid team. I'm not sure if they're quite playoff ready yet. Last year they were 33-49. So that was good for 11th in the East. The East, as I mentioned before, is the weaker conference by far of the two. But the division they play in the East is probably one of the toughest divisions in the East. I know there's only three, but the Atlantic is really a joke. In my opinion, really, that comes down to either the Celtics or the Raptors in that division. And you could have a 40-win season and win that division almost no problem. But with the Southeast, you got the Hawks, who were the number 1 seed this past year. The Wizards, the number 5 seed. The Heat are definitely up and coming, and the Magic are again very young, strong, up and coming team. I think with Oladipo and Payton at the guard position and Vucevic at center, the Magic are definitely turning it around. And I think the Heat, if they bring Wade back, I'm not sure if that's been finalized or not yet. Bosch comes back healthy. They've re-signed Dragic. They got a good team there. Hawks, obviously, even though they lost to Mark Harrell to the Raptors, I still think they're a solid team. And the Wizards, even without Paul Pierce, they still got a great backcourt in Beal and Wall, and Gortat's a solid center, and they got some pieces there as well. So this is a tough division. Hornets did bring in Nicholas Batum. They traded him. They had to trade Henderson and Vonla. Vonla was the 9th overall pick in the 2014 draft, so a young player they did have to get rid of. He did only play 25 games for them in his rookie season, 3.3 points per game with 3.4 boards. Even the GM and the coach admitted it was tough to lose a guy that early in his career with the Hornets, but to get talent, you got to give talent away, and I think that's where Henderson comes in. Obviously, starting guard for them last year. He's listed as a guard/forward combo. Last year, played in 80 games, started 72 of those, and averaged 12 points per game with 3.4 boards and 2.6 assists. So that's a tough guy to lose. But picking up Nicholas Batum, I think, is a good. I think it's a good trade. I mean, Vonla, again, he's a rookie. Not sure what he'll exactly develop into. Henderson is, I think it's a tough guy to lose for sure. I don't want to say Batum and Henderson are equals, but I think Batum brings in a different aspect to the team, and that's going to help for sure. Frank Kaminsky, looking at the draft, they drafted him with the 9th overall pick this year. He's listed as a power forward/center. Some people have their doubts on him, but I don't really want to do that yet. He hasn't even played a game in the NBA yet, so let's give him 20, 30 games before we really write him off. In my opinion, that's what you have to do with these young kids and see what he can do for this team. I think he's a solid player. I think he's definitely worth a top 10 draft pick. Coming off of a successful team playing for Wisconsin. So he knows what winning is. He has that winning mentality, and that's something that he can bring into this team right from the get-go, which I think is important. That's what you want out of your young talent. And I think that can be tough for guys who get taken, top 5, because chances are you're going to a team that's rebuilding or struggling. And if you're coming off from a college team who just won a championship or made a deep run in March Madness, it's tough for you to go into a team where a 30-win season would be considered a step in the right direction kind of thing. But I think Kaminsky brings in that winning mentality to the Hornets. That is something that you want out of your young guys for sure. Mo Williams, I'll talk about him because right now he's a veteran guard on this team. Last year, didn't play too much, only played in 27 games, started half of those, but he averaged 17.2 points per game and 6 assists in those 27 games. So if he does decide to go, reports that I've read have seen him leaning towards maybe going back to the Heat. I think that'd be a tough veteran guard to lose for sure. They do have Walker, though, for another guard on the team. Played in 62 games, started 58 of those, so he can definitely be a starting guard for them. And he had 17.3 points per game with 3.5 boards and 5.1 assists. So he can be a solid guard for this team if Mo Williams does decide to go. Stevenson and Roberts are another couple guards you can look at as well. Stevenson, 61 games, started 25 of those with 8.2 points per game, 3.9 assists. And then Roberts played in 72 games and started 10 of them with 6.7 points and 2.3 assists per game. So a couple solid guard options there. Jefferson has re-signed. Great veteran guy to have on this team. Great center for this team. Played in 65 games last year, started all but 4 of those, and averaged 16.6 points per game with 8.4 boards. So if you have an opportunity to have a veteran center on this team, a guy that Kaminsky can learn from, and can still produce for you with 8.4 points per game, that's solid. You don't see too many guys averaging double digits in rebounds per game. That's like a top 10 kind of a player when it looks at the rebounding statistics. So any guy that can get over 8 and average 8 plus a game for you is a solid center to have on your team. And he's chipping in with over 16 points, so that's great as well. Some other guys, obviously Biyombo, I think is a little underrated. Played in 64 games last year, started 21 of those, and averaged 6.4 boards as well. So we'll see if he stays. I think he's a free agent as well. So it's definitely going to have a different look to it. The Hornets will have a much different look to their team starting this season and going forward. They do play in a tough division. I think 33 and 49 record last year. Part of that, I think, does come to injuries. They did only have 3 players on their entire roster that played over 70 games, and that's going to affect you. Jefferson missed 17 games. Walker missed 20 games. Zeller, who's another forward/center combo for the team, he missed 20 games. He started 45 of the 62 he played in and averaged 5.8 boards with 7.6 points as well. So he's a solid center/forward for this team as well. But when your guys miss a lot of games, it's going to affect your ability to win. And I think health has a lot to do with it, with teams being successful. And going forward, if this team can stay healthy, I think they do have the ability to possibly squeak in, maybe as a 7th or 8th seed. Not sure if that's necessarily the right direction for this team. I know it'll sound a little odd to say that making the playoffs might not be the best step for this team. And the reason I say that is because I'm not sure if it would be really demoralizing for them to sneak in at the 8th seed, whoever the number 1 seed could be. Let's say it's Cleveland, and then Cleveland sweeps them in 4. I'm not sure if it's going to take a lot out of this team, if it's going to be like I said, very demoralizing to them. With the Celtics, with their series, looking back at that, I think it does kind of give you a bit of a fire. I think it can go one of 2 ways. It's either going to make your team, really, really upset and take a lot out of them, or it's going to add fire to their fuel and put them in that position that they don't want to be in that position again, that they can compete. I'm not sure the Hornets are quite there yet. I think they can definitely improve on a 33 and 49 record. I think they can get 35 plus wins kind of thing. I don't think they're going to pull a complete 180 and have a 49 and 33 season this upcoming year, but I do think they are going to get better. Excuse me. I do think they're going to get better, and I think they're heading in the right direction. I think Kaminsky has a lot to prove, but I think he can be a good guy for this team. He's got a good role model in Jefferson there, and I think they got a lot of young, good kids in this team as well. Kidd-Gilchrist, obviously, I'll finish off with him. Haven't mentioned him yet. He only played in 55 games as well. Started all but 3 of those. He averaged 10.9 points per game with 7.6 boards as well. So he's still young, and he's still growing and developing. So again, these guys got to stay healthy. If you can get a solid core of players that can play 70-plus games with each other, obviously some guys are going to get hurt, and they're gonna miss games here or there. You can't expect to go a full season and have your starting 5 on game 1 be your starting 5 on game 82. It's not going to happen. Teams have injuries. Players get traded. Players, don't perform the way they want to, so they get relegated to the bench. Things happen over the course of an NBA season. You can't expect all your guys to be healthy, so you're going to have guys that step up. But it does affect your ability to create chemistry and create a good season for your team and a good record and a good ability to get to the playoffs. So if these guys can stay healthy, develop as a group, I think this team can potentially make the playoffs. Not sure, like I said, if it's the right move for them, if they just want to improve on their record and still try to get another top 10 pick maybe next year and keep growing and developing. You don't want to rebuild forever, but Jefferson's getting older. He's a veteran. Well, Williams, he's a veteran. If he leaves, that's a big hit to your guard position for sure. Kidd-Gilchrist is still young. Walker's still young. Kaminsky's going to be playing in some games this year and hopefully can develop. Biombo's still young. So you still got a lot of young guys in this team that still need to grow and develop. So we'll see what direction these Hornets go in. Those are my thoughts on them. Hopefully some of you liked them. I'm sure some of you didn't, and that's okay as well. Feel free to comment. You can follow me on Twitter at gham614, and I will be finishing off Carolina Week tomorrow with my look at the Hurricanes of the NHL. Thanks again. Bye-bye.